Welcome to part 2 of our conversation with convicted felon turned million-dollar entrepreneur, Jason Edwards. When we left off, he shared that mindsets that led him in and then out of prison, and today he's going to share his experience the day he walked out and after his release. Stay to the end where he shares his message for prisoners, family members of prisoners, and everyone else. And if you haven't already, be sure to get notifications of new episodes, clickable resources, and bonus content by texting REAL to 66866. Okay, so tell me about the day when you were released from prison. Tell me about, like, you get your stuff, you walk out, what happens?
Okay, so leading up to that was pretty intense. So at some point in prison, you just get part of get in the groove, right? You have your schedules, you got your routines. Life becomes normal in there, if you can say that. It becomes the new norm,
yeah.
Right? I don't know what life is outside of prison. So towards the end of that sentence, I started, trying to read relevant stuff, like up-to-date stuff. Where am I living at? What's going on in the economy? What's going on?
Really? That's really strategic.
Well, I mean, you need to know, right? No one's pretty much, gives you the power, to accomplish goals and stuff. So I started, trying to get relevant, and like first you try to tune it all out, right? You don't want to know what you're missing. You want to stay down here, work on this. Let's get through this time, and then we'll deal with the next, project after that. And so here we are. I'm looking 90 days out, 120 days out. It's getting intense. Like I'm so excited to get out, and see my family and my friends, and I'm ready. It extremely nerve-wracking. Probably a little more nervous than getting in front of this thing right here, for sure. But okay, so I've become relevant. I've got my release package. I've got these new clothes, and that was weird. I haven't worn clothes. Like, what is the style? Let's start with that. I didn't even know what styles to wear. So I was like asking people that just came from the streets in, like, is this in style right now?
Oh my gosh.
I'm looking at this Billabong plaid shirt, man. Does this look stupid? Anyway, so
because you went in 2002?
2000, yeah, into one.
And then what year were you?
We're at 2012 now. 2000.
That's a big jump. Okay.
2001 to 2000, almost 2000. Yeah. So, all right. So, the day. All right. My mom drives up. She is waiting outside. I'm getting, dressed and put on my clothes, and I got these shoes on, like, whoa, some neat, nice, comfortable shoes, and blue jeans, like, haven't worn those in over a decade. And so we start walking out, and I remember there's like this last Sally port. So they check your name, they check your DC number, they check all these things, and they make sure that you are who you are and you're fixing to walk out of the gates. And then they get to the last gate, they look at your ID again, they look, there's just last little process, and then the Sally port opens, because there's two gates, right? So it goes like this, and you walk in, and then this one closes, and then this one goes. And so I remember when that second one went, I am walking on floors that I haven't walked on ever, or in the last 10 years. And I remember getting like a light kind of euphoric feeling, like lightheaded. I was disoriented a little bit. My breathing was really hard. I was kind of going through like an anxiety attack, I guess you could say. And so I take a step out, and the sun's shining on me, and there's no gates in front of me, no barbed wire, no nothing. It was just woods and cars, and you don't see cars in there either. You're on the other side, you're in the woods, and the only cars you see is like the gun trucks that run around the prison. Anyway, so here we are. I'm sitting in the car. I'm breathing real heavy. I'm like, oh my God, what's going on? The car's moving really fast. I'm not used to this. I mean, like, everything is just so new and fast, and the things are coming at me so fast, And so my mom's like, well, what do you want? So I had my friend Raj with me. He showed up on the release date. So it's my mom and Roger and me. And she's like, so what do you want to do? And I was like, I want some hash brown smothered covered trunk, please. I want Waffle House. And so she was like, okay, let's go to Waffle House. And so, as you're driving down the...
Wait, hold on. So you had you thought about this before, right? Like, before you were there with your mom and she asked you that, you had to have thought of that.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I mean, I ran through all sorts of stuff.
Like, how long were you thinking about hash browns from Waffle House?
Man, really, since I hadn't had them in 10 years. I mean, it is smothered covered chunk. I mean, who don't like Waffle House, you know? But so yeah.
So you went to Waffle House.
So I went to Waffle House, and on the way there, you know, I'm already noticing new stuff. Like you know, just life is different. You know,
Yeah.
10 years, a lot of things happen and change in 10 years, and I remember Waffle House was like the first like example that stuck out to me. Like I got a lot to learn. So before I went to prison, when you go to Waffle House, you unscrewed the Heinz 57 ketchup bottle.
Uh-huh.
And remember, and
Yeah.
the old commercial was you hold it and it kind of drips out, and sometimes you pump it, you know.
Right.
And okay, well now they've changed the lid to that rubber stopper things, the squirter,
yeah.
the squeezies.
Yeah,
That's new. So I've got these new clothes on. We're sitting in the thing, and I see this kind of squeezy plastic Heinz bottle, and I go to squeeze it a little. You know, I'm trying to get it to come out, and
Yeah.
it won't come out. My mom's sitting over there. You know, Roger's sitting over here. I got this hash browns in front of me. I just want some ketchup on it, and so I do this. It won't come out, and I turn it around and I look at it, and I'm like, man, is there like some peeling inside that I need to peel off? So I look at it and I go to squeeze to see, and it shoots this squirt of ketchup up. And I Superman die. I don't want to ruin my new digs. This is my brand new pair of blue jeans. First pair ever in 10 years, and I dive bomb out of the anyway. So that was the first experience I had. Jump will still talk about that. I call him Jump. Roger will still talk about that. The first day Jason realized that there's squeezy ketchup bottles.
And Facebook wasn't even that big. You didn't know about Facebook.
Facebook didn't exist. Yeah, so there's a lot of things. Google, smartphones. So when I went in, they had the StarTAC Motorola phone that flipped, and it did this.
Oh, yeah.
It was going from analog to digital. That was my last phone I have. Still have it at my mom's house somewhere in a shoebox. But so that was the first phone I had. And now you have these phones that pretty much you do everything on, man. You know, like everything. It was my success today is directly related to Google.
Right.
I mean, like it's a map work of whatever you need, you know.
Because you could, anything that you were curious about, like, oh, what's that? Or how does that work? Or how do I do this? You just could look it up on Google.
Right.
And figure it out.
How to, yeah.
How to, and then fill in the blank.
It was a speech to a program. I wrote a speech to, you know, so there's programs about life's unmanageable, right? For, you know, people revert to drugs and alcohol and all this. And I wrote a speech all about Google. Like, y'all don't tell me that life's unmanageable and you don't know which way to go. All you got to do is Google it. Like, where do I want to eat? Where do I want to sleep? What do I want to learn? YouTube this. I mean, like, wherever. There's a resource out there to help you get through whatever you could possibly be going through.
So tell me about, as you come out of prison, they don't just like, have a nice life. You have rules you have to follow. Don't you have like fines you have to pay?
Yep.
And
Yep.
walk us through like the rules
Well,
you have.
it depends on, you know, your charges. Some people go out and they don't have any probation. Nobody needs, you know, there's not a lot of restrictions to them. They did their time and that was it. But then there's other, you know, for the majority in the state of Florida, that is, you know, is you go through a transition period, you let them know where you're staying at, you have to check in once a week for X amount of time, you have to pay $50 a month for, you know, or whatever your fines are. There's, you know, monetary repetitiously coming through as you're getting back into the world.
What would the fines be for?
Sometimes they were court costs, maybe you had restitution, maybe your and this wasn't me, but maybe your DUI hit a car and that car, the insurance claims or the deductibles or whatnot. Well, if you're in jail, you can't pay it, so they just tack it on the end of it. So when you get out, you owe the state or whoever, you know, the money.
So you have to get a job straight away, obviously, to pay the fine.
I mean, yeah, if you want to produce in the world, right? You got to get a job.
Right. There's other motives, of course. Was employment also one of your rules that you had to get a job by X date?
You have to be looking for a job, yeah. So in probation, that you have to at least show effort that you are trying to obtain a job, and it's hard. So I stayed in Alford for a little bit, and then before I moved to Pensacola. So in Alford, I was there for about 3 months.
What's Alford?
Alford, Florida. Is a place that I decided I was trying to break the mold here. I didn't want to come back here, get around the same groups, get to doing the same things, and I was unsure of what to expect getting out after a decade. Is anybody holding any bad will, ill will for me still?
Yeah.
I'm on probation. I don't want to have to go I just don't want anything that could trip me up. And so
Right.
I felt like just change places, people, and things, and that might be the start of success. So I remember in Alford, I went everywhere. I looked for a job everywhere. And your experience in my education was all prison related. So this correctional facility, I did electrical and brick masonry and PC support. I did AutoCAD, and everything was prison related. So people look at your resume, you have no work experience for the last decade, and then your education is all prison. So I've got 20 people, and this one's going to go over here, and they have all these programs. It's the small print. Nobody even is relevant to this stuff. It sounds good on paper. The politicians or the representatives of your state or whatever say all these things that, well, we have, we offer these programs and these funnels of money and these guarantees and these insured, we bond them, and that doesn't mean anything to anybody. They say, well, we're trying to help them rehabilitate themselves, but then all the things that they offer, all the programs, goes right over the business owner or the manager's head. They don't care to, why take a chance with this guy?
So when you say they offer these things, you're talking about the programs in prison that you took, and the legislators are saying, well, this is why, everyone, there won't be lower recidivism because they have these. But you're saying, what's the use if the employers
don't hire you anyway?
Then It's like you have this knowledge but no way to monetize it.
Right. Yep. And so then they bond it. They say, hey, we'll insure $500,000 for this person if you give them a job, and they last 6 months, or in the first 6 months, we'll insure any damages that they could do. We'll insure your company for it. That's what the government says. I don't remember the number, but there's all sorts of programs out there that try to protect the business owner from giving somebody a second chance shot. And again, it falls by the wayside.
The recidivism rate in Florida is 33%, I found out.
Was it 33%?
33. So 1 in every 3 prisoners goes back, and that's in the first 3 years. But then, interesting, after 5 years, it jumps to 65%. And as I read that, I was thinking about your situation that you went through, of what you're talking about, how the challenges of finding employment. I almost wonder if the repeat of after 5 years being a double spike is because you just hit a wall, and then you're like, oh, forget this, I'm just going to go back to selling.
Doing what I do.
Yeah,
right.
because then that's quick money, and I don't have to be hungry, and,
I mean, yeah, those are interesting. First of all, the numbers blow my mind. You have a statistic that says, there's a high probability you're coming back to prison, and then we don't institute anything, or it's kind of slightly we institute some things to try to correct that.
Well, when people make policies that don't have personal connections to the people affected by those policies,
right,
they don't really work.
Right.
So just in the interest of time, I want to skip forward to Old Habits Die Hard.
Right.
So in prison, you developed, as Liam Neeson would say, a very specific set of skills to survive in there and to create that new normal of what prison life was. Did you realize that you had held on to some of those habits when you got out?
Oh yeah, and for the most part, I feel like I'm in a good groove now. Like I'm trusting. It's taken 7, 8 years now to even want to talk about this. This is a big deal, And for the longest time, I don't mind telling my story to an individual, but I want them to know me first. Hey, how you doing? My name's Jason, and I'm an ex-convict.
Yeah.
And that kind of scares people away. Like, oh shit, where is he from, and what, what did he do? But the mold is hard to break. You sounds make you look. Certain word phrases that people say out here, and there it's a different connotation, so you respond differently. But out here, it's just a way of somebody saying hello. But in there, that's not the way they say hello. That's
like
a way to. Well, I don't know anything specific. Just how you doing? How you doing?
Yeah.
Right. Out here, it's construed a little differently than how you doing in there. Right. So there are. you're on guard in jail. You're
Yeah.
always on guard. Everybody's your enemy until you know that they're not your enemy, you know?
Right.
And then so now here you are, Meredith, coming up to me, hey, Jay, and like there's this barrier that I've created in life. Don't get close to me. Don't touch me. Don't, you know, and now I have to break through that and say, no, it's okay to hug your family members or your friends. And, you know, it's okay to be vulnerable to men out in the world, you know, like
Right.
tell my story to somebody and be vulnerable. That's hard. You're not vulnerable in prison, but
That explains when I first met you. Do you remember it was at your grandmother's house?
Uh-oh.
And going in,
it's a
Garrett,
long way to go, but go ahead.
yeah, Garrett said, all right, you're going to meet Jason. He was prepping me. And we came in, and I met you, but you like didn't really give me eye contact. I think you shook my hand. But then what I really did notice is when we were all hanging out in the living room, you were quote unquote asleep in the armchair. And I was like, that fool ain't asleep. He is waiting to see what I will say when I think he's not listening. I felt like you were like checking me out to make sure I was good enough for your cousin. And maybe you were.
Yeah. I can't remember that. I don't remember. It's so long ago. There's been so many roads to that.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
So yeah. Now, and I'm going to jump start now. I'm just going to kind of push through this to keep going. Okay, I finally found a job. You know,
Okay.
I finally found a job, and you know, I had this saying with my buddy, and tried to minimize my cousin here, but I got to say it like this. So I told him that, you know, if a business owner knew the drive and the focus and the desire for success that I personally have, they would hire me. I will shovel shit barefooted up to my knees if you just give me a paycheck. Like, I was legit, like, there's no way. I even told a guy, and this is how I got my first like real job out here. I told a guy at Subway that I would work for him for free. I was like, man, I can run this place. I used to run one of these. I'll work for free for you today. And if you like what you see, then hire me. And if you don't like what you see, well, I'll get to stepping. But I think you're going to find I'm a hard worker, you know. And he did. He didn't make me work for free, but he did give me a job and gave me an opportunity. But I gave the same speech to this guy. You know, naturally, I was looking for something better than Subway. You know, a minimum wage is just not a way to, you know, get anywhere. So I wanted something better. I wanted to trade. I wanted to get into the industry that I'm in now. And I did the same thing. I said, hey, you know, I'll work for free. If you don't like what you got, I mean, I'm worth $15 an hour, okay? And so that's how it started. I swept warehouse floors and built, you know, filtration systems, you know, and that's where it started. And I just stayed committed. And this is kind of the story that I want to tell everybody, you know, like, you know when someone's not up to good, when they're up to no good. You can see it, right? You can tell by the way that they talk to you or about others, right? The way that they handle just interactions with people. Do they open a door, or do they hold the door open, right? That tells you how selfish or unselfish they are, you know? And family members know their family better than anybody else, right? You've seen the raw uncut of me, you know? And so you can tell when I'm doing good. And I think we made, you know, a talk about this earlier. Seeing my friends now, like on Facebook, and I see a lot of people doing really good. And then there's these friends that I see that they're you know, they say, you know, I'm trying to do this and I'm getting better at this and I'm doing all these things. But I'm seeing all the indicators that you're not. You're trying to sell that to people, but you're really not. And my message when I originally sought out for all of this was, man, it was emotional for me, you know? Like, it really was emotional for me. I was scared to death going through prison. Not saying that I didn't deserve to go there, but it still didn't change the fear, you know? And then I get through it, and now I'm scared to death that I'm going to fail. Like, I feel like I've prepared myself, and the best I could. I mean, I only had what I had. I had the resources available to me at that time in prison, and this is all I had, you know? And I gave it everything that I had to grow to the best of my ability. And so here I am on the street, and somebody finally gives me a chance, you know? So, man, I'm sweeping that floor extra good. I'm building this stuff extra well, you know? I am trying to be proactive with the new thoughts, you know? I remember when I finally won my first boss over. He says, hey, this is when I also learned Google's a great thing. He says, hey, Jay, I need you to get me a quote together and fix these ballast. Now, up until this point, anything that he asked me, and that still is true today, anything that anybody asks me something, I can do it. I might not even know what you're talking about. By the minute I turn around, I'm going to Google it, I'm going to figure it out, and I'm going to learn it, because it can be learned.
Right.
If there is, anyway, so I remember he says, I need you to take a quote and build this ballast and, whatnot. And I'm like, okay. He's like, can you handle that? I'm like, yes, sir. I was yes, man. There was not one thing that this guy was ever going to ask me that I said, I don't know how I'm doing. I am going to be your asset, And so I'm like, yes, sir, I can do that. And I turn around, I'm going, what the heck is a ballast? I'm thinking, does he have a sailboat at his house? Like he wants me to work on a sailboat? Whatever. I mean, like, he just pay me a paycheck. Like I said, man, just shovel it over the shoulder, And so, so I Google around on ballast. I'm like, oh, the things in the neon lights. Aha. So I realized, naturally, my stepdad is an electrician. So I called him real quick and asked him some, quick questions, relevant questions. And I sought out to do it. And so by the time my boss came back, he's like, hey, did you get that quote together? And I was like, no, I already, I put them on the count, kept it under this amount of money, and they're changed. Everything's fixed. And he's like, really? And at that point, he finally was like, nah, your brain's better than sweeping floors in a warehouse.
Nice.
And then the trajectory went from there. And
so tell me what your business is today, because that was it was a company specializing in ice machines. And so that's originally that's what we set out to do. Me and my business partner decided that we wanted to build an employee and customer first approach. And so we didn't really we disagreed with some things on how you
business
wanted to do your own way.
I wanted to do it a different way. I wanted to give the customers something a little bit better. I wanted to treat the employees just a little bit better, Not that it was wrong then, just that I wanted to do a better job,
Yeah.
And so, there's so many thoughts going on right there. I kind of
So
lost
you
it.
ended up buying the business, right?
Nope.
You took over it?
Nope. No, we just went out on our own. So we had some opportunity. We had a rare opportunity to kind of start and develop the Southeast region for just ice machine maintenance. And it's what we specialized in. He sold, I worked out in the field. I felt right. And I didn't think that there was an opportunity like this that would ever come to me in this fashion again. And, my wife does her own thing, and we were just in a good spot where I could take a chance, and I felt like I deserved it. At this point, I put 5 years of road work, field work. I learned every part of the business that I possibly could. I understood that this could be a good thing, and I said, you know what? I'm just going to take the ticket, and I'm checking out, And it's been really well since then. We've diversified into more services now, so which is kind of hard when you don't know what you're doing, and then you're saying, yep, I can offer this. There's a whole new learning curve to that, but it's exciting. It's the projects. We're trying to build something good, and great for everybody around us. It's more about, the team. It's about the family. Mm-hmm. I was telling them earlier that the challenges are bringing someone new in and you not know them. And it's like, do you follow our culture? Mm-hmm. Is your heart in the right spot? Are you in this for the right reasons? And so those are challenging. But
so if you wanted to share some advice perspective to 3 different groups, and one of them was people who are in prison now, what do you want to say to people who are that's where they're at right now?
Okay. Well, and I mean, if I could talk to them, this is what I would say. But upon their release, I would love to have the message to them that if while you're in there, stay focused naturally. To be a better person, to figure you out. This is a time to figure yourself out. There's nothing else to do. Why not understand your strengths and weaknesses? Why not help yourself operate better on? Like I said, just honesty, be honest to the world and to yourself, and then be the best version of yourself, and then the family members that support them, right? So you work on you, and the family members, stay supportive of them, offer them some resources, give them a lifeline that gives them hope and perspective, because when you feel lost and nobody's looking at you, it's really hard to my main goal was to get out and make my mom proud. My mom has been through so much because of me, and she was the only one that like really, I mean, Grandma Jean too, but those two women really remained very, very faithful to Jason finally finding his way. I mean, I put them through so much stuff, it's ridiculous. And today I can hold my head high, you know, like my mom is a grandma now to my children, and she's proud of those kids, you know, and that comes from me and my wife and us trying to grow something, put something good in the world, you know. And so the family, it's instrumental. Don't lose faith of your family. They'll find their way. And you know what? Even if they don't, let's just say 60 years go by and they're doing the same old thing and you've supported them the same old way. I'm not saying open up your bank account and give them free reign to your stuff. But if there are good things to support them on, then support them. Even 60 years go by and they never learn, it's still, you're not a failure there. You're just a person with love and adoration for your family, and you maintain faith to give them a better opportunity, you know. And it's important. It really is. I couldn't stress that enough for family members out there going through it. And you know, like I said, you know, so you know if it's time to help or not. If
right.
somebody's talking in a way that says they ain't working on themselves, then don't offer any you know, you can't.
Don't enable them.
Don't enable them, right. But if they're like talking good stuff and you know they're talking positive stuff, then you gotta support them. That might be the one opportunity and chance that you do have to help them get over the hump and be happy and successful.
And what about if you were going to talk to some
the
people's
naysayers
in charge? Or, naysayers.
The naysayers, right? So there's a stigma out here, right? And, you know, you go to prison and you're not worth anything anymore, right? There are people that just don't do it. And I have met, you know, a couple people really close and dear to my heart now. They have changed their perspectives of me, but refused to even want to meet me when they found out the wrong way. Like I said, I like to meet someone. Hey, how are you doing? This is who I am. Oh, yep, I'm a nice guy. I'm easy to talk to. I'm not a threat, right?
Right.
And then, oh, by the way, 10 years ago, I did this and I had to go through this. And that's a better opening to people that don't know me. But this person, it was like, nope, hey, I want you to meet this person. They just got out of prison and, you know, I ain't meeting that person.
Right.
You know, and it's like, I understand kind of, prison was nothing like the movies. I mean, there is a lot of stuff about it that's similar. They do follow a trend. But the people, there's a lot of good people in there that deserve an opportunity. We make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes, you know. And this is the stigma here. So I hear people all the time that try to relate, which is a good way to relate. They try to relate by saying, you know, there's no difference between me and you. The only difference is that you got caught. Okay, well, if that is, and I hear that a lot, if that is accurate, then who are you to cast a stone and judge? Because I got caught? Because I was stupid enough to get caught? Or you were smart enough to get away with it, so you're too good for me? And so, so to the naysayers, that, you know, when people that want to do better have a line of resource, and they're determined and they have support, then, you know, they're going to do good things. Everybody needs support, right? Everybody needs resources. You got schools. You need to learn, you know. So I'm trying to think of the best way to say this now that I'm in front of a microphone.
No, I think
there's a message here that
I think I hear the message, and I think it's the whole theme of the Meredith for Real, the Curious Introvert. It's my whole shtick, if you will, is don't assume, explore. Find out who that person is as an individual. Just because they have a certain experience doesn't mean you have to put them in a box.
Right.
So, well, that is all we have time for today. But if people want to follow your business or your story, can they find you online?
Yep, we're on social media, Instagram now. I think we just started the Instagram, so it's Oasis Preferred Maintenance.
Okay.
Look us up if you have any refrigeration issues, ice machines. We got a lot of good material out there. So
Awesome. Well, that is a wrap. If I didn't ask a question that you wanted to ask today, make sure you text REAL to 66866 so you get on my email list, and you can just message me really easily, and I'll put out that bonus content and resources. Thank you so much. This was amazing.
Thanks for having me.
Good job.